We're looking forward to a tempestuous race. Colin Edwards, very much a pre-race favourite in most people's minds, whether that be Rob Orme sitting alongside me here, or Troy Corser on pole position for this race on the factory Aprilia. It's going to be a stormer. Troy Corser did say, of course, that what he'd really like to see is Colin Edwards muff his start. He said if he has a few of us to pass, that could just impede him a little bit. That could just make the story slightly different. So the guys will presumably be looking to not let him get too far away. There's number 501 going through your picture. That is the Suzuki-engined bimotor experience of Anthony Gauchot-Golbert, who you may remember was the 1994 Australian Superbike champion before he headed out to seek fame and fortune on the World Superbike stage. And for 3 years he did that, finished as high as 4th. And now the Gauchot's back after being in 500 Grand Prix for one season, or the thick end of one season, till he got fired. And then 9th and 3rd in America. He's arrived to take on the Badlands of World Superbikes, and there they are lined up. Just look at that front row. From your right, Corsa Aprilia. Alongside him, Edwards, VTR Honda. Alongside him, the Ducati of Carl Fogarty. Alongside him, Pier-Francesco Chili. And one of the great things about this is that those two guys on your right-hand side, this is the first time they've made a racing start on those two bikes. Colin Edwards, number 2. Troy Corser, number 3, was practicing a lot of starts during the course of the free qualifying session before this race. Oh, and he gets the front wheel up, and it's Edwards who's made the perfect start as the front wheel lifts on the Aprilia. Those practices didn't work in the end quite, although he might have hung on there in second place ahead of cutting off Fogarty as they dive down through the left-hander. And it was certainly Colin Edwards got a blistering start as they came through Telecom Curve, heading down to Nashua Corner now, and Edwards has the lead, and with a clear track ahead of him, it's going to be very, very difficult indeed for those guys behind. What can they do about it? Corser's there. Corser, the master of the fast lap. Fogarty, look at Aoki. Aoki getting through on the inside at Goodyear. What a rider. Aoki goes through on the inside of Norihaga. Welcome, British Eurosport viewers, to the first lap here at Kyalami. And look at this, Colin Edwards, followed by Corser, Fogarty. Norihaga's got back past the amazing Haru Aoki, who just stormed underneath him through Goodyear Curve, and he's now got Pier-Francesco Chili and Gregorio Lavia for company. And here they come dropping down. Look at Norihaga snaking his way around the outside of Carl Fogarty and making the pass stick. Awesome stuff. Is he happy to be back on Dunlops or what? So now they're streaming down the mine shaft. And at the moment, Haga's the man. Well, Colin Edwards did say that there'd be people like Norihaga and Frankie Keeley in there that had generally been forgotten about in the pre-race talk. And Katsuaki Fujiwara's in there as well. This is a view of the former double 125 world champion, Haruchika Aoki. And look at this, the R&D BFE Ducati has Keeley all over the back of those beautiful twin exhausts. And remember, he's the man riding the very soft compound 16.5-inch rear wheel on that Ducati. They storm past us now in a fabulous feast of noise. Look at Norihaga. Hagi could be the danger man. He could be the surprise package. Perhaps those changes really aren't working on an R7, Rob.
Haga got by in 1998 style. He got that bike and reversed past everybody to get through into third place, and he's right on the back wheel now of Troy Corser. Oh, and Aoki gets a little bit out of shape, and that will have cost him drive. And so Killy on the GSXR 750 Suzuki is through and goes up. Is that into fourth place,
Into
Jack?
fourth place.
Yes, that's right.
Into fifth place, I beg his pardon. Up into fifth place goes Frankie Killian. Now a quick revert. We switch over to his rear view camera, and there's Aoki trying to do something about it, but that was just a little bit of a mistake he made on that soft rear. Edwards leads. Second, Norihaga has gone through into second place. The Haga of 98 is back, ladies and gentlemen, with a vengeance. The Aprilia still an amazing third, and Carl Fogarty, painkilling injections and all in that shoulder, is right there inside him, going up the inside into Westland, and he's made it stick. So they say that Aprilia's wide, but it's not quite wide enough on the drop down there off the lip. And he says he's just not got quite the oomph out of turns that he would really like. He said the mid-range power and the top speed are terrific. He needs more acceleration coming out of the turns. Well, that wasn't acceleration, that was losing out on braking downhill into Westland. And it could be, he said he'd be racing with Haga and Keeley. Well, I think Haga just might prove to be a bit quick, but Frankie Keeley's certainly coming up menacingly. And Aoki's in there as well, of course. Gregorio Lavia, well, it's going to be this is going to be an endurance race for him. The gallant 26-year-old Spaniard with the broken right wrist. It's just going to be extraordinary performance if he can get to the finishing line intact and score some points. There goes Edwards. And the next three tied together. Look at Fogarty. Fogarty making a move back. You said he'd get aggressive when the actual lights went green, Rob. He said forget about anything to do with that shoulder. Once he was out there racing, he'd be racing.
Yes, Carl Fogarty, in the last two seasons we've seen a maturity and a consistency that in years gone by we perhaps haven't seen, but Carl needed the green lights to come on, and he's just exactly, well, almost exactly where he wants to be with lap 2. He's right behind Noriyuki Haga, and Carl wants to see just how and if Haga can catch up onto the back of the very quick disappearing Colin Edwards.
Colin Edwards is disappearing because he just set a new lap record. A new lap record of 1:43.27, smashes Fogarty's 1:43.477, set just 12 years ago, months ago even. Colin Edwards slides down into West Bank, and behind him, that snaking, slithering Yamaha R7, and behind him, Carl Fogarty, followed by that Aprilia. What a performance, and Killy just beginning to edge in all the time. Killy making progress. He's got clear track around him, so he can focus on his lines, focus on what he has to do with the Suzuki around the track. The Suzuki, remember, still very much based, this their 1999 machine. They haven't swapped over to the 2000 bike. They've just made detailed improvements to the bike that came on so very splendidly in Killy's hands last year. Through the chicane, where Haga, remember, crashed on his Michelins last year. Aoki, Lavia hanging in there. How is he doing that? Behind them, Fujiwara, Vito Goreski's Belgada Yamaha, Andy Meklau in 10th place, while his team boss Wolfgang was telling us earlier today that that's what they were looking for. They wanted to be running in the top 10. That's what their sponsors would expect. At the moment, Andy Meklau's achieving that. Pretty good going for a private team. Look at Carl Fogarty hanging right in behind Nori Haga, and he looks as if he's looking for a space.
The thing with Carl is that Carl's running a medium compound front tyre, and Haga is running the hard front tyre. So in these early laps, Haga's got to just be a little bit more careful than Carl Fogarty at the fast corners like we're looking at the moment. So Carl, Jack, as you said, he made up about 6 or 7 yards on Haga, and that slightly softer front tyre working quicker, better, sooner than Haga. But we're now into the stage of the race where all the tyres will be up to temperature, and fuel loads, while still pretty heavy, will be beginning to diminish down. So Carl looking for an opportunity to get through, but not if Haga keeps up this pace. Carl is in the ideal position. We've got 25 lap races, 2 25 lap races to go. Carl wants to come away from Kyalami with a boot full of points and no injuries, no more damage to that slim and lean and mean body of his.
I tell you, he did look fit in those shorts when he bounced down the corridor for a quick wee. He said, "Oh, I've got to have a piss." And he ran down to the loo and ran back, and he looked extremely fit.
Yes. Carl made up and looking for the inside on Haga there as we're coming into, I think that's the chicane, but we're looking back at the moment. Is that Achilles' rear view? Oh, and he's got by. Corsa made a mistake, and Killy is through.
And that was a big mistake by Corsa. He was way out where he shouldn't have been.
That is Kyalami. You break that little bit too late. Off-camber corners push you and the machine way offline. But Corsa, well, he should be in goal for the football team. I think he managed to say that one very well indeed. At least he's still on track and in touch with Killy, who's also going very quickly as well. But Carl Fogarty looking menacing behind Noriyuki Haga. Oh, Jack, we needed this so much. Carl Fogarty to be right behind the fierce and fiery Noriyuki Haga. It's just what Carl Fogarty needed. He got about 8/10 of his normal race face aggression, but, well, it's the Carl that we know and love at the moment. And Killy is taking in, he's cashing in on that mistake in Troy Corso and closing up menacingly onto the back of Carl Fogarty. This is becoming an 8-wheeler.
Fierce and fiery, you said it was. Well, Nori Haga at the front and Pier Francesco Killy, an older version at the back. He may be 10 years the little Japanese veteran. The little Japanese veteran, did I say? The little Japanese is senior, but he's still lively and fiery, isn't he? And he's closing down. He's closing all the time. Look at Fogarty getting laid over. These sweepers just look fantastic. Look at Killy absolutely focused on. He seems to lose just a little on initial pull out of the turns. Here they go, over the hilltop. Now, this terrifying drop down into Westland. Oh, keep it on, boys. You've got to catch the second apex as well. There it goes. Oh, Nori Haga just about touching his shoulder down on the deck as he went through there. This is the drive through the mineshaft, which is really exhilarating, and through the left-hander at the bottom. And then on down to the right-hander with Fogarty looking up the inside again. He certainly looks confident on the possibilities of getting through on the inside. Although Carl says not many places to pass round here. About 2 really realistic ones if someone doesn't make a mistake in front of you. But he may have made a mistake, but notice that he'd said before the race, Troy Corser, realistically, okay, top 5. I'd like to be running with the possibility of a podium, but for our first race out, top 5 would be fantastic. Well, at the moment, he's clear in 5th place, and behind him, a man who can't really attack him because of that broken wrist he's riding with, the amazing Gregorio Lavia, has got past Aoki with Fujiwara, Goreski, and Meklau rounding out the top 10. Ben Bostrom, incidentally, is 11th. 12th place is Borja. 13th is Giovanni Brousset on the Bertocchi Kawasaki. He's followed by local boy, well, not local boy, he comes from Cape Town, but South African Lance Isaacs on the Ducati. And Crafar has actually moved into the points. He's in 15th place, but there's no sign at the moment of Anthony Gobert. He's certainly not in the top 20. I haven't seen whether there's been any problem with we'll try and keep our eyes peeled to see if there's been any problem with that big motor, whether it's flying past us or not, but certainly flying around the Kyalami circuit at the moment. And certainly we seem to have lost. We've got 21st place for Murkivka, 22nd Johnny Eckerold, and Carbam's just gone past us to make 23rd place, but it looks as if Andy Gobert and that TL1000 Suzuki engined bimotor just may have had their race come to a premature halt. That's disappointing for the Australian. This is the battle for 2nd place. Killy has moved right onto the back wheel. Look at this. He keeps closing up. He's so good on the brakes, Robert. He closes up, look, and then loses that initial little bit of gas coming out, and then he comes on again as they go into the turns.
Well, Killy, of course, the double race winner back in 1998. It was on a Ducati, but Killy knows how to ride this circuit, this Kyalami track, and it's a relatively neutral circuit for top speed. But as you say, Jack, Killy loses the drive out of the corner, but makes it up so well on the brakes, and this is that devilishly quick right-hander where only the brave can get through there quickly, and that is an excellent shot of a very brave man indeed. Frankie Killy is in contention there. We've got that 8-wheeler that I mentioned.
You have.
But there, Haga 2nd, Fogarty 3rd, and Killy right back on the back wheel of Carl Fogarty there. So there is your 2nd, 3rd and 4th place man on lap 6 of 25.
Killy is running, because there's no slipper clutch on the Suzuki, they have to run a very, very fast tick over, an enormously quick tick over. I just wonder if that's what's carrying him to the turn so fast on the overrun. But he's certainly getting close to that Ducati, and then just finds the Ducati, well, not so much there, but tending to just grunt away from him as they come out of the turns. He said it was going to be a hard year for him, but he said, I'm ready and I always give my best. We know that, Frankie. That's what makes it so exciting. And here he is, hanging on as they go over that blind drop again. And all you can see are those double exhaust pipes of that Infrastrada Ducati of defending champion Fogarty. And they are racing hard, these guys. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of tactics going on here, Robert. It looks like everybody is really trying to nail things down, and probably inspired by the fact that Edwards all the time is about 1.18 seconds ahead of them there, just tantalisingly in front of them, so they've got to keep the throttle on the stop to stay somewhere near him.
Well, they'll have lap boards with the time differential, of course, between Edwards and the chasing pack of Haga, Fogarty and Killy, even at this early stage of the race, lap 6 of 25. So yes, they're going flat stick, full rate, as you say, Jack, but they don't want to try and steal any of the racing line around Kyalami. We've said before, it's a very technical circuit, and it's pointless trying to rush up the inside to take a place, and all they'll do is see Colin Edwards go from 1.8 seconds to 2.8. So stay in line astern, don't mess up, and just let the laps go down.
Under extreme conditions.
Welcome back to Kyalami and the battle for second place, which is inching towards Colin Edwards. Look at that gap now. Nori Haga drops towards West Bank. Carl Fogarty in third place. Killy all over him in fourth place, and that's the view that Frankie Killy has of the rear end of Carl Fogarty's Ducati as they plummet off down the mine shaft up to maximum speed, fifth gear stuff. and they're chasing Colin Edwards. The gap is down to 1.01. 2/10 of a second was knocked off Edwards' lead during the last lap by Norrie Haga. So this is really fantastic stuff, because Haga is towing along Fogarty and Killy. Everybody's sticking together, and Edwards isn't managing to make the break that we sort of expected that he would, Rob.
Edwards, with that medium front, medium rear tyre combination, is watching his lap boards, Jack, and he is maintaining that lead. That is around about 1.5, 1.6, up to 1.8 seconds. I believe that Colin Edwards is controlling this race from the front at the moment. He's keeping that small, that modest buffer, shall we say, but he will know, he will just sneak to look over his shoulders. He'll know that that man there, Haga, is in second place, and there, of course, is Carl Fogarty and Frankie Killy right on the back wheel of Carl Fogarty. But I believe that it is being controlled from the front at this stage.
Impressive stuff then by Colin Edwards, and you're right, he's just opened that gap slightly again to 1.89. He's sort of pulled back that 2/10 that disappeared. So remarkably enough, Edwards might be doing just that, and you know that he loves to win a race with the littlest apparent visible effort. For him, the flawless rider is the one who doesn't even look as if he's travelling that fast. So to win by the minimum amount of time is probably how he would like to work it, Robert.
Yes,
it's certainly
indeed.
the way the man thinks. But look at Norrie Haga, hand it to him. He's doing everything to bridge the gap, to actually get away from Fogarty and to leave Fogarty to wrestle with his old foe, Frankie Killy. And Killy taking a very close look as he put himself offline, though. He got awfully tight then, didn't he?
I think he had to brake that bit harder to not run into the back of Carl. I hope, but I suspect that Carl, at this stage of the race, lap 9 of 25, may well be feeling serious twinges of pain in that right shoulder, which, of course, connected to the right hand, does all the braking and all the throttle control. So Carl, I hope he isn't, but he might be in a little bit of pain trouble, shall we say, from that injury from about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it, from Valencia?
Well, if he's in pain with his right shoulder, I dread to think what sort of pain Levier's in. He's 12.6 seconds behind the leader, and he's got Aoki half a second behind him, giving him a fairly torrid time. And behind them, Fujiwara is right there behind him, and then we have a tremendous battle for 9th place being led by Ben Bostrom at the moment. There really is all hell breaking loose lower down. Levier will be past us any second now. There he goes with Aoki and Fujiwara right behind him. There's 6th, 7th and 8th, and then there's a gap of about 6 or 7 seconds, and then Ben Bostrom, who finds this track a hard one but loves it, is being chased by Borja, and then Meklau, Goreski, Bousset and Lance Isaacs hanging in there in 14th place. Simon Crafer still in 15th place ahead of Robert Olm and Alessandro Gramigni, another former 125cc Grand Prix world champion. Fantastic stuff going on all the way through the field here, and Frankie Killy has somehow got to find the urge, the drive or the braking on that Suzuki to get past into 3rd place and see if he can tackle Norrie Haga. Haga's just slightly escaped Carl Fogarty's attentions now.
As long as Noriyuki Haga maintains that momentum and closes up onto the back of Colin Edwards, then Carl Fogarty, that's okay for him. Killy, on the other hand, is staying behind Carl Fogarty and also watching Noriyuki Haga. If Haga gets that bit much further away from Carl Fogarty, then I believe, Jack, that we'll see Frankie Killy go through and make a serious pass manoeuvre on Carl Fogarty. But
that 143.27 lap of Colin Edwards very early on lap 2 is still his quickest lap. In fact, Haga and Fogarty also both set their quickest laps beneath the existing lap record on lap 2. So lap 2 was a bit of a scorcher, wasn't it? Killy set his fastest lap on lap 4, Corsa on lap 3. Corsa, of course, is still in there. He's 5.6 seconds behind the leader. He's just about thundering past us now. So he's putting on a very, very brave performance indeed. Remember, his first race on that Aprilia. Edwards, look at that gap. He keeps adjusting it almost as will. It went down to 1 second dead again, or virtually, and then he just squeezes out that 0.1 to 2 seconds back out again. So it does look as if he's controlling the race at the moment, but there's certainly no control over second place right now. These three guys are all thinking about how they're going to be there when the checkered flag drops. The clouds have moved over again. I don't know whether they're remotely aware of that. It makes life a little more comfortable for them down there, Robert, but it won't be quite so much burning heat. I don't suppose you have a moment to think about it when you're out there focused on the race, are you? And Colin Edwards is in the lead. Haga, Fogarty and Killy, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. This is the battle. into Westbank, and once again Frankie Killy taking a very close look at the rear end of that Ducati, not getting close enough to need to brake this time, and then it's the long downhill of the mine shaft, wonderfully named. Remember, we are very much in a gold mining region here, but Johannesburg was built on the wealth of the gold mines, and we're just 16 miles to the northwest of that capital city of South Africa, up on the Transvaal Plateau. 5,000 feet. I can't believe that I can walk up somewhere like Helvellyn in the Lake District and still be 2,000 feet lower than I am here. Doesn't seem fair. Doesn't seem plausible. Into the last turn now, which is a pretty slow one. Carl Fogarty says the main thing with that last turn is just keep it tight and no one can get anywhere around you. If you just keep it tight and nail it, then you're safe. This one though, this is a rocket ship turn, this downhill right before the left, the right and left kinks. Wonderful. Wonderful action. To watch them from on the pit lane as they descend down there is quite extraordinarily thrilling.
Double apex corner is Nashua corner and down into second gear as you say, Jack, and just passing the number 24 machine, that's Vladimir Carbon from Bratislava on the Carbon Racing Suzuki GSX-R 750. Got out of the way, thank goodness, and didn't hold this leading quartet up. But that leading distance, Colin Edwards is masterfully controlling this race for the front, and Noriyuki Haga on the Yamaha makes up that odd tenth of a second on the brakes, but then loses it because I believe that the SP1 VTR 1000 of Colin Edwards has got that power that drives it aggressively out of the corner and pulls the couple of tenths of a second back. And so Killy and Fogarty, they're watching this this battle that is unfolding in front of us, with Haga desperately trying to catch up with the Honda. And whilst ever Haga maintains that momentum, then Fogarty and Killy will stay as they are. There's quite a gap as we look at that section of the circuit there between second, third and fourth place, but on the brakes, right on cue there, everybody concertinas and closes up again. As we look at the speeds in the caption here, there's not really that much difference in speed between the machines. 218, 216 kilometres for Haga, Fogarty 221. I think the speed gun's arguably in the wrong place on a downhill part of the track. Yeah,
I think it might be. It's not a long downhill part of the track either, is it? So as they dive through the left-hander to come back past us once again, the Texas Tornado gets his board, and that tells us that his source tells him he's still in control, apparently, of this race. Once again, Fogarty has clambered all over the back wheel of the Yamaha. Can he get past that R7? He certainly looks keen to give it a try. Would he tell us afterwards that he could have done if he had two fit shoulders? I don't know. And in fourth place, Frankie Killy. I just wonder. Killy's beginning to just lose that little bit of... He's got a soft front, a medium rear Dunlop on that Suzuki GSX-R 750. I wonder if he's made a slightly wrong choice. He just seems to be dropping off the pace a bit at the moment. Boston still there in ninth place. Borja, Meklau and Gureski hanging in behind him. Isaacs, Bousset and Simon Crafer, the men making up the point scoring positions at the moment, and Simon Crafer has just got a half-second lead on Robert Ohm on that beautiful blue Ducati.
He was saying about tyre choices there, Jack. Frankie Killy, the only one of the group that we're focusing on at the moment with a soft front tyre, and it may well just be that with all this aggressive braking, particularly in the downhill corners, that the front tyre is just beginning to go off, because we are now over half race distance, and there is a noticeable and increasing gap with Killy dropping off the back there. But we've said that before in races in time gone by, but Frankie is still in contention, and there is Carl Fogarty, both of them of course watching to see what Noriyuki Haga on the Yamaha does. And there is Colin Edwards, Haga, Fogarty and Killy, so they're still in line astern. It's still an eight-wheeler, but that is Haga at this part of the track, closing up again onto the back of the Honda SP1. But I think the gap as the bikes go by us here in the control booth has opened back up again, so Edwards makes best use of that 999cc Honda VTR 1000 SP1, but it is a lot closer.
That has such a lot of grunt coming out of that first turn. There is such a lot of grunt on that VTR, but look, Norrie's got it. He's working so hard. He's got it down to 0.774 of a second gap as they went past us then. It certainly did look close. Edwards leads. Haga creeping up on him. What an extraordinary rider this guy is. Well, he seemed fairly subdued when we went to that Yamaha dinner, was kindly invited on Friday night, and Norrie seemed happy enough, subdued, relaxed, telling us with amidst a lot of hilarity in explosive Japanese about how he'd wrecked his 500 SR Mercedes, destroyed it, in fact, by hitting a police car that was parked up when he got it all wrong in the turn he was going through. And it was an entertaining story indeed, even in Japanese. Norihaga closing up on Colin Edwards. He's closing. He's working as hard as he must have been with that 500 SR Mercedes that he's crashed in December and completely wrecked. He's got an estate car version now. He says that might sort of quieten him down a bit and make him a bit more sensible on the road. It's hard to believe when you see him riding like this. This is fantastic. Oh, we'll see the darkie he laid on the way to that chicane. You wouldn't think that he'd buried himself in there a year ago. He's obviously forgotten all about that. Norihaga is closing on Colin Edwards, and this doesn't look to me like Colin controlling the race at the moment, Robert.
Well, he's controlling the pace as Colin Edwards sees it, but Haga has closed up now, and he is in range of the slipstream effect from the Honda VTR 1000 SP1, and that is what Haga, and arguably lots and lots of his fans around the world, but certainly in the UK, just what they wanted. And with that slipstream effect, I believe, Jack, that Haga, if he keeps it tight through the corners and onto the straights, well, he'll be able to make that 0.7 disappear, and all of a sudden it'll be just 0.2, 0.1. And that man, defending world champion Carl Fogarty, we haven't given him that much of a name check, but Carl is in contention. He's staying in line astern with this leading trio. It's great to see that this one, lap 15 of 25, with just less than 10 laps to go. The crowd are roaring, they're waving their hands.
That's because Lance Isaacs has just stormed past. He's got up into 12th place in front of Goreski and Bousset. Fantastic ride by the little South African. Believe what he sees, and it's that 25-year-old pocket rocket ship Noriyuki Haga right behind him. Colin Edwards has just looked over his shoulder and found that the pocket-sized rocket ship Noriyuki Haga on that R7 Yamaha is right there behind him here at Kyalami in South Africa. The first round of the... Oh, and he's trying to get around the outside. Has he got room to make it over the top? He's... Oh, extraordinary. And that was on the blind crest before dropping down into Westbank. What a rider Noriyuki Haga is. This is right back to 1998. It's absolutely phenomenal. He's got that beefed up engine, more bottom and mid-range. He's back on Dunlop tyres and he's completely fired up all over again. Noriyuki Haga, second place, and look at Carl Fogarty with a grandstand view of all this going on. Killy has tailed back to 3.2 seconds behind the leader. Corsa isolated in a very gallant 5th place. We just glimpsed him in the background there. And then it's Levere, amazingly still there in 6th place. That man is going to definitely have a medal cast for him by Kawasaki at the end of this weekend, I think. Colin Edwards leads as they come back onto the start and finish straight. The spectators are jumping up and down in front of our commentary position here. I don't know who they're supporting. I suspect it'll be the 2nd and 3rd place men somehow, because Colin Edwards is under a bit of pressure, I think, having looked so cool and calm and collected. I wonder if his choice of tyres might... he's on 17-inch medium compound Michelins. And look at that man, Norihaga. I wonder what he feels like having Norihaga all over your back wheel. He has a quick glance under his left armpit to see where Carl Fogarty is, and the answer is right there behind him. Well, 6 bike lengths behind him.
Having Noriyuki Haga behind you is like having the devil biting your backside. Noriyuki Haga has got a hard compound front tyre. He thinks and believes that that will last a better race distance than the front tyre, well, the front combination of Colin Edwards, medium front, medium rear on the number 2 bike, the Honda there. So Haga is in the most dangerous position for anybody else, and Haga is setting up Colin Edwards for the uphill section. I believe that Haga will go for the inside, if not here at Westbank, after they've gone down the mineshaft rush downhill towards the Vodacom Bowl. He'll go for the inside and try and take the race lead.
And he's taking those, he's back as he was back in 98, able to take those very, very tight lines, but keep the power down, Robert, keep the speed up. He's doing it again with that Yamaha. And look at Fogarty, who's very happy with the Ducati. The only problem he has is with his shoulders, and the bike is absolutely how he wants it, and he's still right in there. And he said that a rostrum position would be great for him. That would give him the points that he needed. He didn't think he could challenge for the win, but he's darn near challenging for the win. Now, I call this challenging for victory.
Well, it is. It's that maturity and consistency that we said earlier on, Jack, about Carl Fogarty. That Noriyuki Haga still thinks every lap is a last lap. But Carl, well, +3 with 7 laps to go. He knows now, Carl Fogarty, that he's got a safe and comfortable gap between Frankie Kilian Suzuki, who is still in 4th place, but now 4.258 seconds behind.
But Corsa is consistently staying about 7.5 seconds behind. He is now beginning to close the gap a little bit on Frankie Kili. That's going to get interesting. Lavia goes stonking past us. Aoki's dropped back a little bit. Fujiwara's still with him. And at the front, Haga is still with Colin Edwards in style. Ben Bostrom still has Juan Borja for company. That's an interesting one, isn't it? A former AMA Superbike champion against a former Grand Prix racing star. Both of them on Ducatis. Both of them visiting this place, I believe, for the first time, Rob. So they're trying to find their way around this second. Look at Noriyaga. He's not visiting it for the first time. He knows his way round. And this time, remember, he got round the outside of Carl Fogarty on this drop early in the race. And this time he has a look up the inside. Can't quite find his way. Keeps that quick turning R7 just to the inside of the VTR 1000 Honda, and then loses a bit of pace to that amazing grunt that Honda has. When you see it come out of the last turn and along the start and finish straight, it's just extraordinary how fast it is through the first 4 gears. Fogarty right in there.
Yeah, the 4-cylinder machine of Noriyuki Haga is losing about 5, 6 or 7 yards coming out of that West Bank corner. He was right on the back wheel and then some of Colin Edwards, but Colin Edwards just put the power down, and at the VTR 1000 SP1 just pulled away again. So Haga, just in the back of his mind, no matter what he's able to do, he's been able to, with relative, for Haga fans, consummate ease, just cannot get by the VTR 1000 of Colin Edwards. And I think, Jack, if Haga does, he'll only stay there for about half a lap, because Edwards has got this race, for me, under control. And Carl Fogarty there in 3rd place, well, we've said it before, ready to pick up any possible pieces that might appear as we go around with on lap 19 of 25. So we're coming into the last quarter of the race. So Haga, if he's going to make a move, he's only going to have one chance to pass Colin Edwards, and he's going to have to make it stick, because Edwards wants to win this race.
Colin Edwards, Nori Haga sneaking up the inside, and 2 back markers ahead, just to make life even hairier than it already is. There's a couple of back markers ahead. One of them is number 23, Yuri Merkivka. And the other one is the VTR 1000 white endurance team Honda of Johnny Eckerold. They fortunately stayed on the inside, and everyone else has gone around the outside. Didn't interfere at all with the state of play. So could it be that the later Nori Haga leads it? If he can pull a pass, the better it will be. He's
got that harder compound front tyre on Haga, so he believes that he's going to have the capability to do what Haga does best, and just if there's not necessarily a passing place, then Haga will invent one and use the power of that harder front tyre. He'll know that with just less than 6 laps to go, that the Honda may well just be suffering. That front tyre might just have been tortured a little bit too much by race leader Colin Edwards. Blue flag waving in the background, that's for the back markers that have just been passed. But Haga will have been, we've seen him doing it, dress rehearsal, particularly at the uphill approach to the West Bank corner. That 2nd gear, double apex left-hander. If the Haga can get through there and just steal the racing line, get the power down on the R7 Yamaha, maybe can hold up Colin Edwards a little bit and consolidate the race lead. Jack, he's going to have one chance to do it, and he's only got 5 laps to do it in. This is building up to a tremendous climax here, and Kyalami as Lavia rockets past in 6th place. Aoki still 7th. Fujiwara has dropped a couple of seconds on Aoki, may have made a mistake round here on the Alstara Corona Suzuki. He's marooned a bit in 8th place. Ben Bostrom still 9th, and he's still got Juan Borja for company. That's been a race-long duel, as indeed has this one, with Noriyuki Haga working so hard to get the Yamaha on terms, and once again going around the trying for the outside, looks up the outside, tries for the inside. Oh, Colin can dig deep, dive deep, break deep into West Bank, and it's deep enough. He knows that he's got the steam as he comes out of it, just to pull slightly away down the mine shaft, but it was only slight. Nori Haga, he just looks to be getting more and more intent on pulling off one of these manoeuvres with every passing lap. Well, Hager has seen the red mist, and Colin Edwards nearly got some more red paint on his left exhaust pipe from 2 laps ago, because those two, the number 2 bike and the 41 bike, they definitely touched. And so Colin Edwards, well, of course he knows he's there, but he felt him just a lap and a half ago. But Noriyuki Haga, he's seen his lap board as well, and Colin Edwards will just look over to see that it's plus nothing again. 4 laps to go. Foggy, well, you've got plus 5 seconds on Killy. Well, Carl knows that, and barring anything, Carl has got 3rd place in the bag, but he knows what Noriyuki Haga is capable of with just 4 laps to go. Haga, Jack, on the last 10 laps, have watched Noriyuki go through the chicane on that rush towards the Gestetner left-hander onto the finish straight, and he's run wide every time through the left-hander and made it that bit more difficult into the right-hander. So hopefully it won't be a replay of last year where Haga unloaded things big style.
Well, certainly he got a big slide on while you were talking there,
Yeah.
Rob, so he's certainly getting that, he's got that rear Dunlop is up to working temperature, I think we can safely say, and it may even have got slightly beyond it, but it's working well enough for Norrie Haga. He loves it when traction has departed to a certain degree and later in the race, and he can just skate that rear end about. Oh, look at him, looking up. Again, he goes for that distracting right-hand side.
But not round the outside. That's
Not round the outside, surely.
No.
But he did do it, you see, earlier to Fogarty, so perhaps he thinks it's always possible. He keeps looking up that way and then just loses that couple of bike lengths as they come out and down the mine shaft, that long plunge down the mine shaft, and at the bottom they threw that Haviline sweep and then heading down to the tight right-hander at the Vodacom Bowl. Vodacom, of course, the huge sponsor of South African motorsports, very, very big presence here at Kyalami, and very proud they should be of it too. It's a great complex. Oh, look at them going through that chicane.
Carl was a bit too hot into that left-hander then, and but Haga had got it right. Well, being so close to the guy leading it, then you can't afford to get it wrong. But here they come past us in the commentary box. 1, 2, 3. Well, Foggy, well, plus 6. Don't even worry about 3rd place now, Carl. Just consolidate that 3rd place, and, well, what are you, just 0.3, nearly 0.4 behind Haga. But we can see what is happening here, that the race is unfolding us, that Colin Edwards has got that power of the Honda to consolidate his lead. Haga, well, he's got that hard front tyre, and it's either going to be at West Bank up the inside, or it's going to be at the Vodacom Bowl, if that is going to be some kind of last lap. But we're just focusing now further down, but that is Edwards leading.
Oh! Norrie Haga all over the back of Colin Edwards. That was snaking around the R7 and right behind the Ducati of Carl Fogarty. Wow, this is hot racing, and we got a glimpse of the fact that, oh, he's trying to go around the outside.
No, wrong place.
Oh, wrong place, says Mr. Orme. Get inside. He nearly cuts back inside, and behind these, look, it's eventually happened what I said quite a few laps ago might, and Killy has dropped back into Corsa's clutches. So the race for 4th is on. Troy Corsa often gets stronger late in a race after a patch in the middle where he's not so strong. And suddenly he's right up there with Killy, who dropped off the back of this leading trio after about half distance. And look at this going, the rib-snorting stuff going on. We're on the 22nd of 25 laps. First round of World Superbikes, Kyalami near Johannesburg in South Africa. And look at this, Colin Edwards, the VTR 1000. Remember, this is the race debut for this bike. And it has led the whole way through. He got a brilliant start, and the lady in front of us has had to light up another cigarette. She's just holding her cheeks in absolute mortification. And oh, and she's now covering her face, absolutely side by side down the start straight. And I think the Aprilia of Troy Corsa got the better of Francesco Chili as they went past us. I think Corsa has moved, as indeed he has, into 4th place. Just at the front, Edwards still has it. 23 laps completed out of 25, so it's going to get down. It could get down to a last lap manoeuvre here, Robert.
It will do. They go around Goodyear sweep, and now on the brakes into the left-hander.
Oh, he's got it!
Haga is through. That front tyre is holding up, but we now got the run along.
Look at the Yamaha team absolutely beside themselves. They believed in Norrie Haga all this time, even through the relatively dowdy times that he suffered during the course of last year. A lot of crashes last year, and suddenly that little guy is there. He's maturing. He's 25 now. Norrie Haga over the top, dives into West Bank. Can Colin Edwards get near him? Edwards tries to look up the inside because he knows he's got the power coming down the mine shaft. Oh, Noriyuki Look at that rear Dunlop snaking furiously as they come out of there. This is fabulous racing. They swoop through Goodyear, and that's the left-handed Goodyear, then into the right-handed one. And look at Carl Fogarty. Don't discount him. He's having a look as well. Could Colin could never find himself in third place after leading for 23 laps, could he? Well, at the moment, with just over a lap to go, it's Haga leading, Colin Edwards second, Carl Fogarty, the old battle-scarred Blackburn warrior, in third place. So Yamaha leads, Honda leads Ducati, and Troy Corser is third, remarkably, on the Aprilia. And here they come screaming past, and there's Toshi, the man with the classes. He is Nori Haga's manager, beside himself with joy there, as he sees his little wicked protege in the lead. Oh, with a lap to go, and the back end lets go just for a split second. Norrie was almost on the deck.
Well, Colin Edwards is just about now recovered from the shock of being Hargered, and Haga is sliding that Yamaha all over the place, but Colin Edwards is settled down now, and he's got his chin buried into the tank, and that Honda is turning better than the Yamaha, so I believe that Colin Edwards will close right up to the back of Haga as they go uphill eventually to Westbank Corner, the left-hander at the top of the circuit. When they get there, we're just going through the Winfield S's at the moment, but Edwards will now have regained his composure and will line up Noriyuki Haga, and we've seen the power of the Honda out of Westbank as we go down the hill through the mine shaft. I believe Colin Edwards will, as they are on the brakes now, going to Westbank, the 41 bike snaking all over the place, but Colin Edwards' bike turns quicker. Look how much further up the inside he can go. Fogarty's around the outside looking to move through, but Edwards is getting the power down now. He's getting onto the back wheel of Noriyuki Haga. They're down through the left-hander at Abilene Sweep. They're coming now onto the braking point for the Vodacom Bowl, and he's on the inside. Edwards takes the lead again, just as I thought, Jack. The run along now between Vodacom Bowl and Midas Straight.
They're touching elbows as they come out of there. Edwards sticks out his knee to make sure he's got a bit of breathing space as he gets through the chicane, and Noriyuki hasn't managed to get back to him. Fogarty is taking a look, he can't, absolutely sideways into the last turn, Nori Haga, but I don't know whether he'll have the grunt to do anything about it. Edwards has come back, Edwards wins it, just in front of Haga, and the fists in front of us go up. There's some Honda fans there in the grandstand in front of us, and a sporting congratulations, David Brivio there, the team manager for Yamaha, congratulates his team, and Colin Edwards, sportingly congratulated by Nori Haga. What a fantastic race that was, and Edwards will be absolutely exultant. And that's fantastic. Colin Edwards then wins the debut race of the VTR 1000 SP Honda. First time out, time for a Noriyuki Haga burnout. If you haven't wrecked that Dunlop yet, wreck it now. Wow, what a performance. And look at that stand-up wheelie from the fourth place Troy Corser. He said he was aiming for top 5 on the Aprilia, and that a podium would be an absolute bonus. Fantastic performance by him. Killy in 5th place. Lafia, hand that man an ice pack and a medal. He's come home in 6th place. Aoki 7th, Fujiwara 8th. Ben Bostrom 9th, where he's been all through the race, holding off Juan Borja 4th and 10th. Meklau 11th, 12th for Giovanni Busset, 13th, loudly cheered Lance Isaacs, and 14th, Simon Crafer gets through the 14th place, and the man who suffered was Vito Goreski, who slipped back to 15th on the Belgarda Yamaha, which incidentally is still a Michelin-clad Yamaha. So the man on the Dunlops was the man challenging for the lead, but Edwards, what a tremendous move. And just absolutely where you said he would do it, Rob.
Yes, Jack. Colin Edwards had recomposed himself after Noriyuki Haga had blasted past there. But he used the power and the stability of the Honda and just got up, as we see now, onto the back of Noriyuki Haga, got the drive and went through and held it through into the chicane. And Haga had got the racing line. Haga was just off that line a little bit, but the power of the Honda
just dealt with it, only just cope with it. Look at that.
There, on the brakes.
Look at the back wheel hitting the air. There was 6 inches of air under that Honda rear wheel as he went into there. What a great piece of racing. No wonder Colin's pleased with himself. He likes to win without looking like he's trying too hard, but boy oh boy, he was trying hard there. Colin Edwards, what a performance. He's been confident, led all the qualifying sessions this weekend except Superpole. So you're doing a stoppie for us. Edwards wins. Colin Edwards peels his way into the pit lane. Frankie Keeley, who finished 5th, follows him. And behind him, the 4th place Aprilia of Troy Corsa. The crowd in front of us on their feet and cheering as Edwards returns to, and there, guys who didn't see what was going on, for goodness sake. Oh, look, all they could see was the main straight here, and they didn't see the amazing fireworks that were going on behind there. That was absolutely fantastic. Wonderful racing here. Alicia rushing to congratulate her sweetheart, well, her husband now. Adrian Goss, the chief tech for the crew. And I think we've just seen
under extreme conditions.
engines revving, waiting for the lights to change. Race 2 at Kyalami, they go green, and once again Edwards gets it down, but look, the Aprilia's nearly with him. The Aprilia almost there as they surge down into the drop into turn 1, but I think Colin Edwards might have it once again. Norrie Hager dives underneath Carl Fogarty even earlier this time to snatch 3rd place. Edwards is at the front again. Killy's got a better start this time. Aoki's in there. Aoki's in there in front of the amazing Gregorio Levere, who simply doesn't know when. Oh, and who's gone wide there? I think Fogarty got that line all wrong and dropped 2 places in the left-hander. Fogarty goes down into the pack a bit, and Aoki's right there inside Killy. Aoki goes through. Well, it looks like that medium tyre's working pretty well right from the off. And look at this. Up the inside goes Norrie Hager. Hager's not waiting around this time, but he drifts right out of the left-hander. Colin Edwards says, "Thank you very much, Norrie," and takes the VTR Honda twin back into the front. Oh, Rob Orman, this is all, it's hectic already.
It is, but Troy Corsa, brilliant start. He's there on the number 3 bike, up into 3rd place, and got the best place in the house to watch as we go up into West Bank Corner. And that Honda of Colin Edwards turns on a sixpence, and Noriyuki Haga can do nothing at the moment. But Haga knows from race 1 he cannot afford to let Colin Edwards settle down, or that Honda's going to start pulling away and build up, same as in the first race, a 1.8 second lead. But Haga means double whammy business. He's right on the back wheel of Colin Edwards. Jack, I'm on the edge of my seat.
I'm not. I'm 6 inches off it, rather like Colin's back wheel. But it's the worrying factor here, I suppose, from a British point of view, is that Foggy's gone offline a couple of times in the first lap, and look where he is now. Back behind Juan Borja,
8th place.
Just in front of Katsuaki Fujiwara on the second last star at Corona Suzuki. Not quite where we expected to see him. He was pleased with that first race performance, and here the crowd in front of us shaking their fists as we go by. The South African sunburned folk, that beer drinking chain smokers right in front of us, beautiful girls and lusty fellas alike, seemed to me to be cheering on Norrie Hager, and they certainly did enjoy that first race. Even if he didn't quite win it, they enjoyed that first race. Edwards leads, Hager second. The Aprilia is in 3rd place, and look at that, back in 8th place we've got Mr. Carl Fogarty behind Juan Borja and Gregorio Levere. And look at this, Norrie Hager's back at the front again. What the rider this kid is. He's having such a ball, isn't he? He's really ignited the Yamaha camp after a relative year in the doldrums. They really are right back on it and enjoying it. And in his semi-teammate Vito Goreski, having got 1 point in race 1, is 11th, just behind Ben Bostrom right now, and just in front of Anthony Gobert. Gobert, incidentally, went out on the 2 laps with an electrical problem on the Bimoda. Look at that!
Fogarty nearly ran into the back of Haruchiko Aoki. I think that is more of avoiding tactics by Fogarty, as he'd have ran into the back of Aoki, but thank goodness Carl's still on board the machine.
That was the second moment that cost Fogarty valuable time, so a rerun there of what happened to Fogarty to drop those 2 extra places when he was just behind Aoki. That allowed Levere and Borja through. And look at this at the front, already snaking his way into the right and left switch, and Killy's right there. Killy hasn't had the problem of a bad start, though he has got a bit of a gap ahead of Troy Corsa to those front 2. I don't know whether he can bridge that gap. It'd be fascinating to see, because he won't have made any changes as he hurtled past here. The noise from these people just in front of us as the whole pack goes screaming past. And look at Killy closing on the downhill right and left through the Telcom curve, right up on the red and white curbstones as they go down hard through the gears into the second gear Nashua corner, down to 65 miles per hour. Look at that Aprilia over there. Troy Corsa right down behind that huge bubble. You could almost use it to go touring to the Bordeaux, that thing. And look at that. Bousset is down in 14th place behind McLeod. Gramini 15th. Ulmeri finished in race 1, 16th place. Oh, Gobert's got back to 17th. Gobert must have had a big moment, unless he's got that electrical problem happening again. It started to cut out on him very early in the first race, and after he had a nasty moment where it cut out on him under power coming out of a corner, he glanced anxiously over his shoulder and found a Ducati taking hasty avoiding action. He thought, enough of this isn't going to work. And it looks thankfully as if we might have lost number 32, Di Silvestro, the man who's could really be a dangerous mobile chicane round here. If he's gone out, that's good news for these guys. Look at that body transfer weight. Isn't that fabulous? Everybody heeled over on the inside. And that's just the sort of thing. Mainly it's a left-hander on left-handers, of course, around this circuit. And Gregorio Levia's main problem is into right-handers, so he's thankful that it's mainly a left-handed course. But he doubts whether his wrist will last this race. It would be an amazing achievement if it does. 7th at the moment. He's been repassed by Fogarty. Fogarty's pulled past Levia and brought her into 6th place. And now he's got Aoki in his sights, just as Killy has the Aprilia in his sights. Look at this. He gets so close. He must carry amazing corner speed on that Alstara Corona Suzuki. Here they go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's as they went past us. 5, 6. And in fact, the 5th place man was none other than Foggy. He's whipped back past Aoki on that lap. So Foggy seems to me to be on a bit of a mission, and these two guys at the front certainly are. I'd like to stare into their eyes right now. Norihaga leads. 2nd place, Colin Edwards. 3rd place, Troy Corser. 4th place, Frankie Killy. 5th, Foggy. 6th, Aoki. 7th, Levia. 8th, Borja. 9th, Fujiwara. And rounding out the top 10, Ben Bostrom. And I fear that once again, oh no, Gerbert's down to 18th place. I fear he might have problems as he sinks back downfield. Of that Honda, I wonder if you sometimes get fed up of it, as they hammer down through the mine shaft into the Hamelin sweep and then down into the Vodacom ball. Fabulous viewing here. Look at that sunshine. You can see why if they were going in the opposite direction it definitely would be sunset in your eyes time. And look at Carl Fogarty. Look at him coming. Fogarty is definitely joining in, and unless Killy is losing, no, Killy's not losing contact with those in front, and the answer is Carl Fogarty has joined on with them. So Foggy, it'll be interesting to see what that lap time comes out like as they come streaking across the line now. For the first time we've got an absolutely pure 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was Fogarty's lap was 1:43.75, and the ones in front of him 1:43.9, 1:43.9, 1:43.8. So Foggy made a bit of a move on that lap. Corser's dropped a second a lap on those times, and Levia's about 1:44.7 as well. So it's even Stevens at the front, it's even Stevens just behind them.
Carl Fogarty, we said, Jack, that he was closing up onto the back of Frankie Killy, which he has done, but the man for me that looks the most comfortable is in 2nd place. Colin Edwards is being able to stay on the VTR 1000 SP1 behind Norihaga, but that is Carl.
Foggy's gone down.
He's lost the front end. Wants the marshals to help him pick the bike up. But is it too seriously damaged?
Oh, Foggy, what happened there? It's a heavy thing to get up in that. Is the engine still going? Is he going to try and get it?
Yeah,
the engine's still going. He's going to try and run it off. I bet he's forgotten about that shoulder now. Look at him, he never knows when to say no, does he? He never knows when to give up. Is he going to try it again? Will it work? Look what's hanging off the front. Oh, be careful, Carl. And look at that, Andy Mecklau goes scorching past. Mecklau was lying 15th. So, and there's Anthony Gobert, who was in 17th place, and Gramini had gone past as well. So suddenly, Fogarty is no more, having set a new lap record on the 5th lap on his way through to that 4th place, and he just made it there and was right there where he wanted to be, Robert.
Commentators curse, just as I was saying, Carl was catching up onto the back of Killy, unloaded there, but just Carl cracking the throttle that little bit too soon, and it was a low side and slid away. Carl not injured, or at least not injured anymore, fortunately. But it's down to a trio now in the front, as in the first race. But the trio is different, because this time Frankie Killy's staying in contention on the GSXR 750. But as I was saying before that drama, the man looking the most comfortable in 2nd place, Colin Edwards on the VTR 1000. It's on rails. I know it's a cliche, but it's the truth. He's not sliding, the bike is not bucking or trying to throw Colin off at all. He looks so much in control. I believe, Jack, that he's decided to stay behind. Arguably the safest place to be is just slightly behind Noriyuki Haga, and this occasion in the second race it's Colin Edwards that'll make the manoeuvre. I believe it's going to be with just one lap, at the most 2 to go, because as I said with Haga in the first race, Colin will get one chance, and one chance only, to stay in front of the Yamaha number 41 machine. But as they go up now, up the hill towards the braking point into Westbank, look how much the Honda, how quick that turns. No problems at all for Colin Edwards, on rails and tucked in right behind Colin Edwards. There's Carl. I think that piece of cable that's hanging off there's probably got something to do with the gear change, possibly. I'm not sure. But
David Todotsi less than pleased to see the cameramen trying to follow in. And as we watch across into pit lane now, the garage is closed, so we can't see what's going on there. So Fogarty sadly is out, but at the front it's far from all over yet. And what you were saying about Colin Edwards, one of this man's true talents is the fact that he can ride worn tyres without apparently getting... Do you remember when he was in the wet in Austria last year and he won that race when really he must have been like riding on ice because he had slicks on? Remarkable talent for keeping things in a straight line and looking comfortable when in fact they're extremely dodgy.
And the pit board there showing Colin Edwards that there's 3 there and 3 only in that leading group, and that there's 7 seconds or more between the leading trio and 4th place man Troy Corser, and actually to be accurate it's 8.652 Troy Corser. After that exit onto the kitty litter, as we amusingly say, still holding 4th place and 4th place comfortably, because 5th place man Gregorio Lavia's a further nearly 5 seconds behind Troy Corser. But back at the front, Killy is forward-facing camera, following that man there on the VTR 1000 Honda, Colin Edwards, all under control, following that man leading the race, most of the time under control, Noriyuki Haga on the 41 Yamaha machine.
Behind them, Lavia, Aoki, Borja, Fujiwara, Bostrom. Antonello has wakened up in this race. He finished 18th in the first race. He must have thought, well, hang on, if Troy Corser can do this, what am I doing back in 18th place if he can finish 4th? So he's now in 10th place, having a battle royal with Busset on that Bertocchi Kawasaki. And the Italian presence at the front end of the pack is, of course, Killy. But Killy just... well, he's hanging on in there. Perhaps he's just not working his tyres too hard. He overworked the tyres during the first half of the race last time. Perhaps as we're on lap 12 of 25, so we're just around the half-distance mark. In fact, almost exactly at half-distance. Perhaps Frankie's just thinking in terms of not attacking too hard yet.
That's right, and Colin Edwards again on braking into the chicane there. The back end, the back wheel of the VTR 1000 SP just hopping along, and Noriyuki Haga, well, Nori-san, you should know who would be behind you, but the VTR 1000, Colin Edwards, totally under control, even with the back wheel in the air, and Haga knows it. And Killy, yes, he is hanging on, and just dropping a little bit off the back of Colin Edwards, so, well, Killy... hopefully, well, the body language looks a little bit better than it did in the first race, but you can see visibly the gap now. It's about 2 tenths further back of the back wheel of the up and down back wheel of Colin Edwards.
that El-Stara Corona Suzuki squirming around a little bit. I don't know whether it's just beginning to use and abuse those tyres a bit. Frankie Killy, of course, what he doesn't want to do, ideally, I'd love to see him in there and challenging these 2 amazing characters, but we don't want to see him is do a Fogarty and throw it up the road. Just as we see Carl Fogarty, this is what happened. This is what happened to Carl Fogarty, and that was the moment at which it went.
The front tucked and the back end just followed round. Carl had got the Infostrada Ducati cranked right over and was cracking the throttle to get that drive, and the front just tucked and the back end, well, it followed it round.
So that was the demise of Carl Fogarty. He goes out of the race to a Kyalami after finishing 3rd, first time out. This is that. Trying to get inside former 125cc world champ Alessandro Gramini, and right behind him, look at that great bimotor. Behind him, Simon Crafar on his 2nd ride on the VTR 1000, 14th in the first race, and at the moment I think he's 15th place right now. But look at that boy, Anthony Gobert, 25 years old. We were talking to him in the pits, finding out what had happened with the electrics of that bimotor, and he was relaxed. He was very relaxed and in extremely good spirits. And look at that. And that was Andy McLeod goes inside, runs wide through Westbank, pays the penalty. Gramini says, thank you very much. I'll just retake that 12th position, if I may, and he does. Meklau says, no, you're not, and sticks that Remus Guerin-backed Ducati right back in there, and look at what's happening behind them. The Bimota of Gobert, the wriggling R7, which they've obviously, the Team Vialli people have got that R7 going better. Look at the way that Ducati's snaking around. This then, the battle for the latter points. Oh, and just at that moment, Gramini looked over his left shoulder and Gobert thought he had a gap. Oh, look how tight Gobert's turned the TL1000 engine Bimota. And as he comes past us right now, they're absolutely side by side, and he's trying to get round the outside into the first turn, and I think he's done it. A brave move indeed. Simon Crafar thought about following suit. Crafar's gone for a soft compound front tyre on this race. I think that probably signifies his slight doubt about the front end of the BTR. He's just not entirely, as he would say, comfy with it. But what about that guy, Anthony Gobert? He says that when I said to him, you're much smaller than I seem to think you would be, he said, oh, I think it must be my bad boy image. People expect a sort of bit of a big bear. He said, I think I'm more of a little deviant, which I thought was a wonderful expression for it. So there's the little deviant. He's come through into 14th place now. He's got, I beg your pardon, 13th place. So can he get after Meklau and that Ducati? This is going to be fascinating. Because he honestly felt, he arrived here thinking he could have that Bimota straight on the pace, didn't he? He thought that was what he would be looking at, that they'd be right in there battling for the front. Well, the man at the front is Nori Haga. He's done 22 laps. He's done a 1:43.7. Isn't he consistent? Edwards has slipped to 1:45. So that's really pulled the lead out. 3.8 seconds. Killy a further 4.5 seconds adrift of Edwards. Corsa 7 seconds, 8 seconds back. And then Aoki should be next up. Aoki's next up. Lavia still hanging in just a second and a half behind the former world champ. And he's got to keep moving because he's got Bostrom, Borja and Fujiwara still neck and neck. This race is just breathtaking all the way through, really. Everything's going on. I wish we had about 4 cameras so we could show you a split screen 4 times over. Then you could take your pick on what you wanted to see.
Well, that battle with Bostrom, Borja and Fujiwara, they're all on 34 seconds behind the leader Noriyuki Haga, so that's quite a hectic battle, and Bostrom will be able to see on the straights to Gregorio Lavia, who is just about 4 and a bit seconds in front, and will be beginning, unfortunately for Gregorio, to start, his right wrist will be starting to hurt. But no problems at all for that man. That's Noriyuki Haga on the 41 Yamaha. This will be, provided it makes it to the finish, which it does look, in all intents and purposes, like it's going to do, the first race win for the Yamaha R7 since last year, Albacete last year, when Noriyuki climbed onto the winners rostrum in top place. And so it's been a lean time since then, but Haga, look how much he is in front now of Colin Edwards. I think Colin, well, 3.8 seconds behind, is looking at consolidating second and taking equal joint lead with Noriyuki Haga in the World Superbike Championship.
And at the moment, Haga will be moving on to 8 race wins if he wins this, putting him level with flying Fred Merkel on 8 wins, the Honda rider who won the first ever World Superbike Championship. Colin Edwards, of course, moved himself on to 9 wins with his first race victory. Fabrizio Pirovano, who we look forward to seeing in World Supersports once again, is on 10. And look at the battle. This is Ben Bostrom, and right behind him, he still has that wonderful black Juan Borja, the NCR Racing, the teammate of Lance Isaacs, is right in there. Isaacs, incidentally, 2 laps down in 20th place, not having the same great run that he had in the first race. But at the moment, that's Ben Bostrom trying to keep that factory Ducati in an advantage over Borja and Fujiwara. Fujiwara in 9th place. He's finishing in the sort of place, remember he was 8th in the World Championship last year, but it's a lot livelier, his performance here, than he ever was last year, as I recall, Rob. He really is getting properly stuck in. He's not riding lonely races, is he?
No, sparks and fireworks this year, settled down, and we just saw that caption of coming around the Gestetner corner, that Ben Bostrom under serious siege from Juan Borja on the 19 NCR Ducati, but Bostrom can see Lavia in front, and Lavia in turn will on his lapboard know that it's just 4.6 seconds that he has in front of the chasing trio of Bostrom, Borja and Fujiwara. Fujiwara dropping a little bit behind Borja, but Bostrom is on a mission. He's closing on Lavia.
Nori Haga charges past, and the spectators in front of us wave their hats and enjoy as he goes past. Colin Edwards follows him through. Actually, I think they're cheering everybody. Huge reception for Killy, who's got his own fan club to the right here, as Norrie Haga, elbows and knees akimbo, goes flying into the final lap. Troy Corser's just flown past into his final lap. 2 fourth places for the Aprilia, first time out. That is a fabulous show. And Haru Oeki will be the next man through. And I think that the man behind him, Gregorio Lavia, is going to survive. There he goes, Lavia! Cast him a second medal. Goes blasting through. Bostrom through now. No, Borja goes through. Borja has just taken Bostrom. Borja took Bostrom as they came across the start line. He was 2 tenths ahead. Fujiwara still in there behind them. And at the front, no one I don't think is going to threaten Norrie Haga. Haga has judged everything to perfection, made his move early in this race and gave nothing away. Fought off and wore down Colin Edwards and the Honda. Tremendous ride for Norrie Haga. Well, he's looking lighter, meaner and fitter than he did. Mecklow's just gone past with Gobert actually glued to his back, I think. That race is going to go right to the wire between Mecklow and Gobert for 12th place. Norrie Haga, all he has to do is make sure he carries himself and his R7 Yamaha comfortably to the finish, because that's going to give him 25 points. He takes a long look over his shoulder as he rises up towards the chicane where there were all the histrionics going on, where he actually lost race 1. Also the chicane that claimed him last year. And as he comes across the finish line, Norrie Haga just takes that last turn and takes it very gingerly, because now that means he's got his 25 points. And the whooping crowd in front of us salute the wheeling Japanese star as he goes across the line to win his 8th WSB race. And they're also cheering Colin. That's great. These South Africans like everybody. And Lawrence and the boys jumping up and down and hugging one another. And Keeley, he's thrilled to be on the podium. You know he'll love being on the podium. Look at this. Borja's there. And Fujiwara desperately trying to close in on Ben Bostrom as they go through the final chicane. I think Ben should have it together, but you can't be sure. Of course, has finished in 4th place. Aoki's just crossed the line in 5th place. Gregorio Lavia has another medal cast for him in the Kawasaki Cup, and Ben Bostrom hangs on behind Borja. Borja 7th, Bostrom 8th, Fujiwara 9th. And I think Alessandro Antonello, almost unnoticed, is going to come home a handsome 10th place on the second of the Aprilias. The Aprilias, 2 in the top 10. What a fantastic performance for them in the second race of the 21st century. Busai goes through a tremendous 11th place, his second 11th place. And look at this, going for the line. And look at that man, Anthony Gobert. He snatched it. He's got 12th place. He didn't want a lucky 13th. 12th place for Anthony Gobert on the Bimota. What a great result for him. Just snatches it out of the jaws of Andy Mecklow. Simon Crafar 3 seconds further back in 14th, and Alessandro Gramini 15th. Look at those guys. Andy Mecklow, such a nice guy. He'll be saying to Gobert, well done, sunshine, you deserve that. Absolutely tremendous finish there. Wonderful to see the Bimota in. If the Bimota did well to get into Super Pole, it's done darn well to get into the top 12 in its second race.